What's up, Starter the Crew? It is yours truly, Starter. Dude, run over to get into HoneyKomb Brazy. Now, didn't he just got in trouble, man? He just got in trouble for having firearms while on probation or parole. One of the two. One of the two, I can't remember. But the thing is with HoneyKomb Brazy, when I say, look, when I say this man got a lot of street stuff going on, it's bananas. He got released from jail or prison, can't remember, right? And got in a shootout the same day while at the barbershop. That's wild. Bananas. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, oh my God, this is the most heartbreaking thing I could even say. He in so much street stuff, deep in the streets, that his grandparents, bro. His grandparents got, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say murdered. And then, well, the house got shot. Okay, look, the house got shot up. Correct me, all these details, correct me if I'm wrong. The house got shot up. But they had oxygen, like, tanks in there or whatever. So, like, the heat from the bullets and it ricocheting off metal, creating sparks, blew the house up. That's wild. Now, I heard they had the oxygen, was it from COVID or... I gotta blur out that vid word. We gotta blur it out. It messes up the algorithm. I don't know what it do. It just messes up the algorithm. Anyway. And man, it's just a whole sticky mess, man. And like I said, this man is in a lot of street stuff. You know, I watched a few interviews of him. Y'all tell me do reactions on his videos. I'm like, alright. But I really watched the interview of him. And when I tell you this, though, bro, he's a real street nigga, bro. In and out of jail since a kid, you know. Bro, he talking about jail. And when he tell his little jail stories, they be on par to the niggas' jail stories I hear in real life. Niggas I actually know been to jail. You know what I'm saying? They be on par. And look, bro, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all boys something. If y'all boys been in a lot of jail, man, start your YouTube channel. It's niggas on here that's been in jail, prison, whatever. Come on here and tell jail stories and shit. And start making $40,000, $50,000 a month. If you can't find a job or you got one and you don't like it, every day after work, come home, record yourself telling the jail story. Nigga, hey, figure out how to make a fire ass thumbnail. I'm telling you. Nigga, work on getting some good quality on your... Bro, I could give you niggas the whole game plan, bro, on this YouTube shit. I don't give a damn. Y'all niggas already been in jail for some years, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then off of you telling them jail stories can branch off to you being a whole different type personality on YouTube. Listen, I could really give you niggas the fucking gems, the sauce. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, start you one. Hell, let's get... I don't know why to start talking about this shit, but, yeah.
Is one of the hottest artists from Alabama. But the rapper has also had a pretty rough come up that has included spending over 10 years in prison.
We ain't back to this 480p shit.
Going viral for getting shot on IG Live and having to deal with the brutal murder of his grandparents, who were both killed and had their house set on fire. Now, the rapper will be going back to prison after being sentenced to 13 and a half years for violating his probation by posing in a music video with guns and drugs. Let's take a closer look at the wild life and career of HoneyKomb Brazy. Brazy grew up in Mobile, Alabama, an area that was full of drugs, crime, and violence. The rapper's parents were in and out of jail while he was growing up, and he often stayed with his grandparents. At age 10, he was arrested for the first time after breaking into a factory and riding go-karts with his friends until the police came. After that, he was put on probation. Brazy said that he didn't even make it to high school, which his mom wasn't happy about. But there wasn't much she could say because she was in and out of jail herself. After that, he went and stayed with his aunt for a while, but ended up shooting his own cousin over a money dispute.
Whoa, wait. You shot your cousin?
Yeah, yeah.
Like on accident?
Nah, like on purpose.
Oh shit! Oh, what the fuck? That's a new one! That's the new one! Like on accident? Hold on, bro. Let me sit up right. Nigga said, like on accident? No. Like on purpose. That's the new one, bro. What the fuck is that? That's the okay, buddy. Okay, what the fuck? What'd I tell y'all at the beginning? Okay, buddy. What the? And niggas laughing. Look.
Over a money dispute.
Whoa, wait. You shot your cousin?
Yeah, yeah.
Like on accident?
Nah, like on purpose.
What the
He said there was a business situation between his cousin and his dad where some money came up missing. His dad was locked up at the time on a murder charge, so Brazy handled the dispute for him. The cousin ended up paralyzed after the shooting, which caused problems between Brazy and his aunt. But he says that his cousin is back to walking and their relationship is fine now. He was only 13 at the time of the shooting and ended up going on the run before getting arrested. This would be the first time he was sent to prison and wouldn't get out until he was 16 or 17. Right after being released, he would get caught up in another situation where he was arrested for first-degree robbery and attempted murder. Brazy says that he didn't actually commit this crime, it was his friend Derek Det Thomas who pulled the trigger. They were together on the day of the robbery, and police reports showed that the victim was walking down the street when he was approached by two teens. They stopped and talked for a few minutes until one of them pulled out a gun and shot him in the leg. The other teen grabbed the money out of his pockets and they both ran away. The two robbers were later identified as Det and Brazy. Det was the one who actually shot the victim, but because Brazy was more well known, they ended up arresting him first. But on the day that Brazy appeared in court to face these charges, Det would end up getting murdered. He was shot and killed over a $5 dice game by a 40-year-old man named Anthony Williams. Brazy would end up doing 4 years for that charge, but as soon as he got back on the streets, he went right back to his old ways and caught another body. In February 2016, just after Brazy was released for the robbery and attempted murder, he allegedly shot 22-year-old Ladarius Stank Moorer, who was a childhood friend. Stank was shot and killed at the Woodlands Apartments where he lived with his girlfriend. He showed up to their apartment and his girlfriend didn't want to let him in. He ended up kicking on the door and found Brazy inside, who was supposedly there to sell her weed. They started fighting and eventually someone pulled a gun, leaving Stank dead. This murder earned Brazy a ton of enemies in his hood because Stank was well known and loved in the area. Brazy went on the run for a while, but was eventually arrested and charged for the murder. He would end up beating the charge, but would spend over a year in jail fighting the case. While he was in jail, he would get into tons of fights and even admitted to stabbing 3 people in one day.
Like, hell yeah, I stabbed 3 one day.
Plus, he would even end up getting to spend some quality time with his family, spending 6 months in the same cell as his father, who was still serving time for murder. Brazy and his father have the same name, but different last names, so the jail staff didn't even know they were related. Brazy somehow got the murder charge overturned, but as soon as he was back on the streets, there was more problems. Stank's murder had turned his own hood against him, and many of his childhood friends were now his ops. Once he got out, Brazy would end up getting shot several times. One of the bullets hit him in the head, putting him into a coma for a week, and the doctor said that he would probably never walk again. But after a few months, the rapper was back on the streets and planning his revenge on the people that almost took his life. It was also around this time that he started booking studio time and decided to take rap more seriously. In June 2018, he dropped a track called Freestyle, which
it was a long ass song, but that nigga spitting the whole motherfucker. I should do a video. I've already listened to it like 1,000 times, bro.
quickly went viral. It put him on the map as one of the hottest up-and-coming rappers from the South and eventually earned him a deal with Rap-A-Lot Records. Things seemed like they were going good for Brazy and that he may have made it out of the streets. But in February 2020, he was sent back to jail for violating his probation.
And breaking now at 10, a Mobile rapper is going back to prison just a few hours ago. A judge revoking probation for HoneyKomb Brazy.
In 2016, the rapper was arrested on gun charges and sentenced to 15 years in jail for violating his probation. The court would eventually reduce the sentence and only made him do 18 months, then serve another 5 years of probation. In January 2020, his parole office filed a motion to have his probation revoked for possession of marijuana and a firearm. Brazy was brought back to jail, but the charge was dropped after the court failed to prove that he was actually in possession of the weed or the gun, and he was allowed to walk free. After being released, Brazy would end up getting into another shootout that almost got him this time. He and his homies were on Facebook Live, sitting in the car outside a barbershop in Montgomery County, Alabama, a few hours from Mobile. A gray BMW slid through and started letting off shots, so Brazy and his crew started firing back. It's not clear if anyone was hit, but many think that Brazy and his crew were set up. Brazy even released a surveillance footage from outside the barbershop showing him and his people firing back in self-defense. Then, in February 2021, the tragic news broke that Brazy's grandparents had been shot and killed and their home had been burned to the ground while they were inside.
The grandparents of a local rapper shot and killed, then their home set on fire. The grim details just revealed by emotional family members at the scene.
Around 6:30 p.m. on February 17, 2021, the neighbors of Brazy's grandparents heard bullets tear through their home. A few minutes later, they went outside to find the neighbor's house on fire. Other witnesses reported that they had heard gunshots and then an explosion as the house went up in flames. It took 3 hours for firefighters to put out the fire, and by that point, everything was destroyed.
Damn.
But they were able to determine that 2 people inside the house had been killed. A witness said that he had heard over 100 gunshots and he and his mother had to duck for cover. The 2 victims were later identified as Layla and Tony Lewis, the grandparents of HoneyKomb Brazy.
Leela and Tony Lewis, and were the head of their families. And we've also learned that they are the grandparents of local rapper HoneyKomb Brazy.
They were in their 60s and well-loved members of the community. After the news broke, the rapper posted a photo of his grandparents to IG to mourn his loss, writing, "Long live Grandma and Grandpa. Y'all was my heart for real. I put y'all in every song. I hate y'all got caught up in my shit." Shaking my head.
That shit gave me chills and shit, bro. That shit crazy as fuck. Got goosebumps and shit, bro. I don't know. I just feel like, you know, maybe they play shit different in Alabama, or maybe whatever, bro. But this certain shit just shouldn't be done, you know. Old motherfuckers that's like old, you know, spend every hour at home. Probably go to bingo, nigga. Go drink coffee at fucking McDonald's in the morning, nigga. That old. That old, you know what I mean? They in retirement and shit. Kids. Should be like off limits, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, maybe they play that shit different in fucking Alabama. I got some cousins and shit that live in Alabama. How far is Mobile to Columbus, Georgia? That's like close, ain't it? Whatever. Y'all help me out. Anyway, yeah, bro, that shit just kind of, you know what I mean?
Shit hurt, man. I begged y'all to let me move y'all every day, but y'all taught me how to be a stand-up guy. Y'all told me if it's our time, it's our time. God got us. That's how I know y'all in heaven. Y'all baby boy got y'all for show. Granny, I'ma miss you bad already, and I'ma for sure miss smoking that gas with you, Grandpa. Y'all save me a spot, cause I'm definitely coming to see y'all. The viciousness of the attack shows that it was not only targeted, it was personal. Brazy wasn't even in Mobile at the time of the murder, so they intended to go after his grandparents. Police later identified a man named Darren Jamark Southall as a person of interest in the case.
Yeah, that's right, Lenise. And that's just part of the story. The big news tonight is that for the first time since Tony and Layla Lewis were murdered inside of their home months ago, detectives telling me they're taking a long, hard look at a guy named Darren Southall.
Southall is an accused drug pin with ties to the Gulf Cartel who had escaped from prison. Southall is accused of overseeing a massive drug operation that sold crack, cocaine, and fentanyl all along the Gulf Coast and is currently facing federal drug charges. Southall was not arrested in connection to the murder, but named by police as a person of interest. The 42-year-old is being investigated because he's the uncle of Stank, the 22-year-old that Brazy allegedly murdered back in 2016. The family connection explains why the killers would take it to such a brutal extreme. But police say that Stank's murder may not be the only reason for the double homicide, and there's likely more to their beef than just that. At this point, Southall has not been arrested for the crime, but is being investigated. The murder does seem to be more serious than a regular neighborhood.
Hey, that's crazy, because, like, you watch, like, a HoneyKomb Brazy live or like, song or something. Couple times he mentioned, I heard I got money on my head. Or something along them lines. And, like, watching this last part right here, I kind of just, like, put two to two together or whatever. And it's like, maybe? It's possible? You know what I'm saying? But, like, whatever. You know what I mean?
But beef. The victims were not only two innocent people, they were killed in a cold, planned way that sent a serious message. There's a big difference between spraying a house with bullets and accidentally hitting an innocent bystander and targeting family members by burning down their home while they're inside. So it seems like the rapper may have had an enemy that's even crazier than he is. All in all, Brazy spent over a decade in prison, even though he's only in his late 20s and he's been shot at more than 8 times. His ops have even given up trying to take him out and have turned to going after anyone close to him. But if the life of HoneyKomb Brazy wasn't wild enough, the rapper would end up getting sent back to jail just recently for violating his probation by appearing in a rap video with guns and drugs. Brazy is still on probation for the 2016 case where he was booked for being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm.
A local rapper is back in the headlines tonight. HoneyKomb Brazy in jail on gun and drug charges.
He only served 18 months of his 15-year sentence, and now the court wants him to go back and serve the additional 13 and a half years. They tried to get him once before for violating his probation, but the charges didn't stick. Now, they got all the evidence they need from his own music videos and social media. The court was able to put together 15 different video clips that show Brazy with firearms and drugs. His lawyers tried to argue that anything appearing to be guns or drugs were fake and just props that were being used for videos because the use of any real weapons or drugs goes against his company's insurance policy. But the court pointed to the incident that happened back in 2020 when Brazy and his crew were shot at in Montgomery County and fired back. Clearly, they weren't using prop guns then, so Brazy was around real guns at some point. But the rapper wasn't actually the one shooting any guns, and his boys were acting in self-defense. Prosecutors also accused Brazy of failing to check in with his probation officer, but his lawyers claimed that this was because he feared for his life and his grandparents were killed and didn't want to be seen anywhere that he could be tracked. The court also pointed out that at one point, he admitted to his parole officer that he had used marijuana and Percocet and traveled outside of the state to go to Houston, Texas. These are all violations of his probation. So, even if the evidence in the videos are just props, they clearly show a lifestyle that he's actually living. The judge took several weeks to review the evidence and determined that Brazy should finish out the remainder of his 15-year sentence for refusing to follow the terms of his parole.
It looks like Jones is going back to prison for a long time.
Yeah, it does, Byron and Lenise. Jones only served 18 months of a 15-year sentence on a gun charge. But the DA's office telling me about an hour ago that he'll now have to finish that original 15-year sentence.
It does seem like they may be out to get Brazy for all the trouble he's caused in the streets of Mobile. The rapper has said in interviews that it's not just him, but his whole family that is living that life. His father's locked up for a murder charge, his uncle's doing a bid in federal prison, and all his cousins are well known in the streets. He's been going back and forth from prison since he was just a kid and has been on probation since he was 10 years old. So Brazy isn't the kind of rapper who's just making up stories for clout. He's really out here, not only with people from his own hood, but serious criminals with connections to the cartel. It seems like the life he's been living has finally caught up to him, and the cops want to put him away before anyone else gets hurt. HoneyKomb Brazy is another example of a rapper who got caught up in a cycle of trying to be a gangster and a rapper at the same time. Although being a real thug is what made his music blow up, once you start getting millions of views, it can be hard to stay active in the streets. Either you're going to end up in jail or people close to you are going to get hurt. Unfortunately, Brazy has had to deal with both, even though he had a promising career ahead of him in the music industry. Hopefully, he's got a good team and some lawyers who can get his charges overturned or his sentence reduced. But it seems like it may be a while before fans get to hear another track from HoneyKomb Brazy. If you thought this video was crazy, be sure to check out our channel for more. From rappers killed by friends to rappers who ran from cops, we cover the most insane stories that you need to hear.
Hey, but all in all, he might be out within like the next 2 years. Might. But I'm no fucking lawyer. I'm far from a lawyer, right? But the kind of touch back in the beginning of the video, this whole, like, his whole shit is just like, God damn. Because you'll think, like, the hip hop game is just going crazy because you'll think of an instance like TK, Bananas. You know what I'm saying? No, but this HoneyKomb Brazy shit is fucking. And it's like the street shit, I can wrap my head around a little bit and like see why things were done type shit. Not necessarily saying I agree with them or want them to be done, but just, you know what I'm saying? The whole concept. But what I'm trying to get to is, bro, the street life is not for me, bro. He built for this shit. You can obviously tell he built for this shit, bro. He wasn't moving different. Okay, he was moving different, but like, he didn't break a sweat. You hear the bitch in his voice? None of that. You know what I'm saying? And overall, bro, this shit just crazy, bro. I'm still fucked up about that whole grandparent situation, you know? But, yeah. Originally, to video been down, screenshot my Twitter, I've been top. It's your boy Snore. I'm going, man.